Today we are here at the head office of Cloudera in Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. I am super excited to meet the founder and CTO of the company, Amr Awadallah. Amr, thank you so much for having us in here. We really appreciate for hosting us today. Let me ask you a question from early days at Cloudera, maybe at around 2007, 2008. So when you founded Cloudera, tell us a little bit about how those days were like. And so when investment opportunities, business interests were pouring in. So did you work like day and night planning for this? Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So yeah, Cloudera was started October 2008. That's when we started the company. And if you remember, October 2008, around the time was when the financial fall down was taking place. And there was nobody investing in any company, any startups at that time. We were fortunate, myself and my co-founders. So I come from Yahoo. My co-founders come from Facebook, Google, and Oracle. So we had a very, very strong team. And then we had a VC investor, Excel Partners, who was first impressed by the team, by how good we were, but also really believed in this idea of big data. We described to them what we did at our respective companies. So I saw the big data problems at Yahoo. My co-founders, they saw it at Google and Facebook. So we told them, like, it's like we're coming from the future, because with the size of problems we see at these companies are at a scale much bigger than anybody else. And we think the rest of the world is going to suffer from the same problems, and they're going to need a solution like this. And luckily, they believed us, and they gave us the funding. So it wasn't money pouring left and right back then. Actually, we had to fight a little bit to get the money during that environment. But we were fortunate that we found an investor that first was impressed by the team, but second, really believed in the potential of big data, that this big data thing, which nobody heard the term big data back then, by the way, that was before big data became big data, is going to be a problem that everybody will need a solution for, not just the web companies. So yeah, obviously after they invested the money in us, we had a lot of hard work to prove that this is truly a problem that goes beyond just a couple of companies, that this is a problem that many, many companies will need, and to solve it in the right way. So yes, we were working day and night. Back then I was working 90 hours per week. All of us were working 90 hours per week. There was only 4 of us, so we had to work a lot. Today there is 1,300 of us at Cloudera, so we don't have to work as hard, but we still work hard, but not as hard as the early days.
So did you know or think or predict that by 2016 you would be this big?
So again, from us experiencing the problems firsthand at our respective companies, we knew this is a real problem. So we all had the belief this is a very real problem, and we had no doubts that this was going to be a huge, huge opportunity. Actually, we did. All of us believed that this is going to be huge. What surprised us and what impressed us is how quickly it came to be. So if you look in history at other companies in the enterprise software data space, no other company grew as fast as we did within 8 years. So even recent companies like Tableau and Splunk, it took them maybe 12 or 13 years until they reached the same size where we are right now. So yeah, we were definitely surprised / happy with how fast it came to be, but we knew that it was going to be a big thing.
Okay, so it's started in October 2008, now it is 2016. And as a leader, did you have an execution plan with like key milestones defined? You had some expectations set up for each year.
Yeah, for each year we had milestones in terms of revenue, milestones in terms of number of customers, milestones in terms of number of markets that we're going to penetrate, milestones in terms of what new product features we will be adding in the product, of course.
Absolutely. So today there is no doubt that Cloudera is the de facto leader in the we feel that way in the big data space. But at the same time, big giant vendors are coming into the same space. They have even PaaS model, platform as a service model offerings. And at the same time, we see in the open source world, on a monthly basis, we are seeing new products. I run a consulting company, and it's pretty hard for us because we have to learn so many products to satisfy customers' needs. So, and in your ecosystem, there are so many products, right, in this end-to-end. So how are you staying ahead of the curve? How are you picking all these technologies, to plug it into your ecosystem?
Sure. So it's 2 questions that you asked there. One question is how do we stay ahead of the curve given all the competition? And then the second question is how do we pick different things that we should add to our stack given how fast open source is evolving? So on the first question, how do we stay ahead of the curve? It's simply said, of course it's hard to do, but it's execution. It's all about execution, meaning that you need to continue to expand and sell in new geographies and win against competition. That's it. This is really what it's about. At the same time, it's about innovation, meaning build new features and new functionality in the product that makes your product superior than anything else out there. And execution and sales is more about the short term, what we're doing right now, right here. And then innovation is about the future. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, will our product stay ahead of the competition the same way it is today? And I think so far at Cloudera, we have been doing excellent in both fronts. So in terms of execution, one of the key reasons why we are in the leader in this space is because of how well we have been executing, not just within the US, but worldwide.
Yeah.
And then second, in terms of innovation, we have shown over and over again that we picked the right projects to be part of this platform that we provide. So how do we pick new projects?
Yeah.
You are correct in identifying that the open source ecosystem continues to throw out new projects left and right, which is a good thing. This is how you get innovative new things. Yeah. So our job at Cloudera is to be a curator of these projects. Like a big part of what we do is to curate which ones of these hundreds of projects coming out there will truly have lasting value. Meaning they're not going to be here just for a couple of months or a couple of years, they're going to be here for the next 10 years. Because once a customer starts to adopt one of these technologies in their infrastructure, they're going to be stuck with it for at least 10 years, if not longer. So before we adopt any new project, we look at three things. Number one, is this a good project? Like, is this really built in the right way? It has the right foundation, the architecture is the right architecture, etc. So that's number one. Number two, is there a healthy community growing behind that project? Open source projects only survive and last for a long time if there is more than one company contributing to that project. So we look for that signal. And then number three, because we have a very rich customer base, we have lots and lots of customers that use our platform, we look to see at least 10% of our customers are excited about this new project. They believe it can solve a real problem for them. So we have to get these three signals before we adopt that new project. And so far, that decision-making framework has been very successful for us. So one of the very first projects that we added 6 years ago, of course Hadoop itself, 8 years ago. So 8 years ago we picked Hadoop, the original Hadoop, but then after Hadoop we picked Edgebase, and Edgebase became a foundation for many projects after that. And then we picked Search and made the Solar, Apache Solar part of the foundation. And then we picked Kafka, and we made Kafka part of the foundation. And then we picked Spark, and we were the first company to pick Spark to be part of an official Hadoop distribution. And obviously Spark now is a major success. But in addition to picking, we also look at the market and the needs that the market have, and we fill these gaps as they come up as well. So we don't just pick open source projects, we can create new ones as well.
So you said one of the reasons when you pick a product is because of the customer's need requirement, right?
Exactly.
So we also see that Cloudera listens.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So one example I would give you is during, say, 2010, 2011, those days when we had to launch a Hadoop cluster, say, for example, on Amazon EC2, we used to use WHIR script, WHIRR script. And then, of course, we could launch a cluster, but say I have to add a user, we had to do it manually, right? And the whole infrastructure management was very manual. And immediately we launched Cloudera Manager. Another example is Impala, launch of Impala. Hive still, even today, it is slow. Someone said once that like if you start a Hive query from California, you go to Hawaii and come back, and the Hive query will be still running, right? So this kind of experiences that we've been hearing from customer for a long time with Hive. And we are, we've been doing data warehousing. We are used to using super fast RDBMSs for data warehousing. So Hive was went so slow. It was very painful. But with Impala, we could make our clients super happy as well, right? Optimizing their queries and all. So this way, what do you have in your stack to offer next to make enterprise data warehousing super simple?
So thanks for saying that. Yes, in fact, Impala came out of us listening to our customers, right? So listening to our customers is one of the key reasons why we continue to execute very well. So you were asking earlier, how do you stay ahead of competition? One of the key ways to stay ahead of competition is to have a lot of customers that help you build the right next thing that they need. And that's how we stay ahead. And one of the key things they were asking for, they said, Hive is great for batch jobs. If you're doing batch and lots of ETL or whatever, Hive is awesome. But if you want to do interactive queries and interactive BI, Hive was not really built for that. And that's why 4 years ago we introduced Impala into the market, solving exactly that problem. And the success of Impala speaks to how big the problem was and how appealing the solution was for our customer base. We have a couple of other things in our bag that we'll be releasing over the next few years. Many of them are private. I cannot mention in a public interview. But some of the ones I can mention because they already are in the market are Kudu, Kudu. And Kudu is a new storage system that solves a problem between HBase and HDFS. So HDFS is very good for high throughput when you're scanning a lot of data. HBase is very good for updates and lookups. HBase is very bad for high throughput. HDFS is very bad for updates and lookups. And if you're building a data warehouse, many times you need a data warehouse that can both do throughput, meaning you're scanning a lot of data, but at the same time, do updates and lookups at the same time. And we don't have that today, actually, in the ecosystem. And that's why we built Kudu. So we built Kudu, we released Kudu into beta with Hadoop World last October. And very soon we'll be releasing Kudu as GA. It's part of the open source Apache Foundation right now. And we have lots of customers using it right now and testing it and giving us feedback on it. So that's one of the key big next things that we're introducing. The other key next big thing that we're working on, which is in the market and we introduced about 2 years ago, is Cloudera Director. So Cloudera Director solves exactly the problem that you referred earlier about with Where. If you use Where to create clusters on EC2 and Amazon and even on Microsoft Azure or in Google, it's very cumbersome, very hard to scale up, scale down, add resources, have the cluster grow and shrink automatically as the workload grows or shrinks. So we created Cloudera Director to solve that problem. So Cloudera Director plugs directly into the APIs for AC2 and the other cloud environments, and automatically scales up and scales down the cluster depending on the needs of the workload. So that's another key innovation for us. The third innovation for us, and this comes from Intel, as you might know, Intel is one of our key investors. In fact, they're one of our largest investors. And Intel released into the market towards the end of last year a new type of memory called 3D Crosspoint. And 3D Crosspoint is really one of the biggest improvements in memory that we have seen in the last 20 years. And the key change that it introduces is typically today on a server, you only have 100 gigabytes of memory. With 3D Crosspoint, you're going to have a few terabytes of memory, so 10 times bigger than what we have today. And that changes everything because now we can start to cache and keep a lot of the information in memory without depending on flash or disk for the storage. And that can lead to things running much, much faster. So that's another key trend that we are very focused on within our stack right now.
In terms of memory. So are you working anything around IoT, Internet of Things?
So we are not building IoT infrastructure ourselves, but obviously, by definition, IoT means you have a lot of devices out there that are collecting data and sending that data back so that we can analyze that data and take decisions based on it. So a lot of our customers are IoT customers. So I'll give you a couple of use cases that we have today. One of the use cases that I'm very proud of is actually a company called Cerner. And Cerner, what they do is they build medical software for hospitals. And they built a solution that has the IoT devices in the operation room that measure when you do a surgery, measures the surgery, measures the signals coming from your body during the surgery, before and after. And one of the key problems that can happen during a surgery is they will do the surgery and it will be successful. But then, meaning they will heal you, whatever bad thing you had, they will take away. But then they will give you a blood infection. It's called sepsis, the blood infection. And the bad thing about the blood infection is if they don't catch the blood infection in the first 2 days and you go back home, you will die from it. It's that bad. It's very hard to recover from. But if they catch it within the first 2 days, very easy to fix. You take a couple of antibiotics and you're fine. So the key point is how do you detect that that person is going to suffer from the sepsis before they, So using our software, by collecting all of the data from the instrumentation they have in the operation room, they are able to predict with very high accuracy. This patient is going to suffer from sepsis. Don't let them go home. Keep them here under observing them until you heal them. And they saved thousands of lives already using this technology. That's one use case. Another use case is in the insurance industry. And this is a very common trend now that we see in many countries. The insurance companies for car insurance, they have devices that you can opt into to install in your car. And the device will measure how you're driving, will measure how you're speeding up, how you're slowing down, how you're taking a right turn, a left turn, whether you put the signal before you took the right turn or left turn. And if you are a good driver, based on what they get back from the Internet of Things device in your car, they will lower the monthly premium that you have to pay for your insurance. So that's another example. And there's many other examples like that. One of the common themes in the Internet of Things industry at large is what's called predictive maintenance. So predictive maintenance is about how can we fix something before it fails. So I'll give you two examples very quickly from that. One is a customer of ours is a company that ships produce vegetables and fruits. And because they're shipping also produce, they have to keep them in these massive refrigerated containers. And if one of these containers fail, everything has to be thrown away. All of the vegetables go bad. So for them, it's very important to try and predict that this fridge might fail before it fails. So that somebody can go out and repair it, otherwise they will have to throw away all of these goods. And using our software today, the sensors in all of these fridges send back signals in which they do predictive modeling and predict that the failure is going to take place.
So that you can adjust the refrigerator or temperature.
Or change a part, actually. Usually there is one of the parts in the fridge itself needs to be replaced. So the key is how can you do that and replace the part before the part fails, so that you don't suffer the failure at the first place.
Wow. So that could be so much useful for farmers.
For many organizations. Same thing applies for construction equipment. So another one of our customers is a company that builds the very big bulldozers and cranes that you use to build buildings. And same thing, if one of these bulldozers or cranes fails during a project, the cost is very high because now you have all of these workers sitting there not doing nothing until they repair it. So same thing, today they have Internet of Things devices that collect parameters around these cranes, and using the software they do predictive modeling to predict the crane is going to fail 3 weeks from now. It's better we send somebody out to replace the part before it actually fails.
So for these IoT applications, so you have the technology ecosystem end to end, so that it can handle it. So for example, the use case that you have given for farmers, like for produce, right? So say for example, I have a few fields, and lots of fruits, growing there, and then I say for example pluck like every month and keep it in storage and it needs to be delivered to a city, right? So I want to use that. So in that case, give us a little bit of overview, like from technology perspective, what do I need to install? What system do I need to have end to end in terms of Cloudera ecosystem?
So for the Internet of Things use cases, it goes beyond just Cloudera ecosystem. So our system is good at collecting the data, analyzing the data, and making the predictions. But when you're building a system like this, you also need to have the physical sensors. You actually need to have sensors in the devices, in the fridges, in the field, in the construction equipment, measuring things. We don't build those, right? Sorry, there's many other partners that build these kind of things. Similarly, once these sensors collect the data, you need a wireless mobile network to transmit the data over. Cloudera doesn't build that either. So there's many other components that need to come together. So we typically work with vendors that put these solutions together and sell the whole solution. And we are part of the solution, not the entire solution.
So
or Internet of Things specifically.
Collecting it, absolutely. Collecting real time. And also do historical processing, machine learning.
And prediction.
So Amr, Cloudera's valuation. So what is it now?
So we are private. We're not a public company. So we don't have like a valuation that you can check every day. But usually when you're a private company, you measure your valuation as of the last round of funding that you did. So the last round of funding we did was the one that Intel invested money in Cloudera. And at that time, we were roughly $4.5 billion in valuation.
So
which qualifies as a unicorn.
Sure, you said the word. So my point here is, so over a few decades, right, we've been seeing many unicorns in the industry, right? And how do you justify this $4.5 billion of valuation?
So the way that any valuation is justified is the business either need to be from a revenue perspective, showing a growth that clearly indicates you are in a trajectory to achieve that valuation, if not more, which we do have. So we have been doubling in size every year since inception in terms of how much revenues we make. So we do have very, very strong growth. But you need to have that growth coupled with a potential opportunity and market size that crosses across many, many industries. Which we do have as well. So of course, I'm biased. I work for Cloudera, one of the founders, and I own shares. I think the valuation is justified. But the true measure is obviously when we go public and the market gets to truly value our shares in an open market. That's when you truly can say, yes, this is my valuation. Until then, the valuation is whatever investors are willing to offer us.
So once you go public, then do you think you will sustain?
We sustain our valuation. I think we'll even exceed our valuation. I think that we are at the beginning right now. We're not building Cloudera to be a what they call a flip company, where you build it and flip it for somebody else to buy it or whatever. No, we think this is a true long-lasting market. We think big data is here to stay for many, 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 many years to come. And the IPO will simply be the first step in that journey in the public markets, but it's not the end. Usually people say the IPO is like boot camp at the base of a mountain. It's yes, we had the startup phase, but now this bigger phase coming next should be much harder and hopefully much, much bigger. So not only do I think we will sustain, I think we will significantly exceed.
Grow as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So my last question, it's for Amr, not for Amr and Cloudera.
Yes.
So if it were not big data, and this space, what other technology area you would be interested in?
Yeah, so I'm a gamer guy. I like to play games.
Which games?
I play like first-person shooters and strategy, real-time strategy games. And I'm very, very excited by the virtual reality / augmented reality phase. As you might have heard, Facebook just released the Oculus Rift, which is a head-mounted display you can wear, and it puts you inside a virtual environment. So very excited by the potential of that, not just for gaming. Like I think it will be excited for gaming, and I'm very excited about it from that perspective. But I think virtual reality and augmented reality will have many, many applications beyond gaming as well. So I'm very happy with Cloudera right now. Cloudera is doing very well, very busy with Cloudera. But if I were to do another company in the future, it probably will be in that space.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah. So today, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for having us in here.
And
we look forward to meet you again.